Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Today we're going to talk about how to spot from very early on when things are going very bad with your supervisor, and especially what to do about it at a very early stage, so you essentially avoid the misery of a PhD with the wrong person. Stay tuned. Now, boys and girls, one thing I should say from the very early on is that these people are not only PhD supervisors. We find them everywhere around, in every country, in every circumstances, in our families, in our friendships. They are scattered around everywhere, and they are more or less of a stable number. The most difficult people, I come across with, there were those which had some sort of power on me. They were, people in my family, that they had power on me. They had people in my, workplace, that they had some sort of responsibility towards me. So every time I had someone above me which had some sort of power on me, and this person was a bad one, of which we are going to see some cluster of in a minute, then I experienced some issues. But here is about you, what you can do about it from a very early stage. So some tips that I have recollected from early on experience at work is that usually these bad people, what they do is they put up on a stage. So when you go there for the first interview, things are organized, and therefore you get from place A to place B to see person C, D, in a kind of quite organized and unnatural way. You can feel it; it's not natural, that kind of sequence. You can kind of get in and out of the place without having seen a lot, and especially kind of all scheduled. There was no time to breathe. Maybe the only time to breathe is during a lunch break or whatever. So it's all organized, and kind of you feel like you are rushing. That's the feeling I had with these people. And then another thing is that they are kind of very superficial. So they introduce you to somebody, but you don't know too much about what these people are doing, or they take you to a place and you don't know if the place is running or it's been idle for decades. It's difficult for you to spot, and if you make some questions, the kind of answers you get are pretty shallow. So put some attention on how superficial people are, as shallow their answers are. So this is a great sign that there's something behind. They are hiding, and they are very skilled in doing this, because this is part of their daily operation. They've been used to do this for decades, and therefore that's what you get. All right. Then what happens when you start eventually? Because you need a job. You need a job. You need maybe PhD, or even after you PhD, if you didn't understand these problems during the PhD time, then you go to a place, you need a job. You're under a bit of a pressure, to get that place and start doing good things and also earning a salary. So you are more under pressure than they are. And when you start working with these people, I find out two opposite kind of attitude from this kind of bad people. They are either overly present, they're always there, you can almost breathe sometimes, or they're never there. They're really never there. And they are both bad things. A good supervisor, a good manager, even if you don't need them, time to time they come to see you just to say hello, to show that they are there if you need them. Yeah, they are a bit compassionate. They are, they make kind of a joke every now and then. They are kind of humans. Okay? As we will see later on, these bad people, they are not humans. Okay? Better, they are not humane. So we will see later on that these people indeed are human beings, but being human beings doesn't mean being humane. There's a big difference, which I learned in a book. Now let's think about a bit what happens when they try to select you. I have studied for about now 3.5 years psychology, and I read a large number of books written by psychologists, especially clinical psychologists and also psychiatrists, that they have looked at bad people and how they kind of behave and how they act with others and what they're trying to achieve. And I had gone through a lot of pain in this process because I was trying also to understand myself. How did I get involved in a few cases at work and a few cases also in my private life, in which it seemed that I didn't spot this from early on, and at some point I even questioned if I was one of them. And then I got to some pretty kind of fundamental conclusions that differentiated me from these guys and these girls. And one of them is that psychologists and some psychiatrists also say that they kind of select you. They select victims, let's say. But I'm not a victim. When I am attacked, verbally, physically, or emotionally by some people, after a while I respond. I'm not a victim. I take on a little bit, maybe a little bit more, and then I respond. Sometimes extremely strongly. So I'm not a victim. I'm not the ideal victim for these people. So what happened then? Well, I don't think they select all the time people. They may select from time to time some potential victims that they see from earlier on being a bit naive and a bit weak, in some circumstances. But it's not this that they work on. They work on removing from you all the good things you have. So you are spoiled of those good things you have, they don't have. And the competition is not about them winning, it's actually about them making you lose. Because if you lose, they win as a consequence. They don't have to put a lot of effort in winning. They put a lot of effort in making you lose. So, this is the process I went through with some of these bad people around, They try very hard to make me lose, not to make me win or to win themselves, but to make me lose. This was the basic thing. Making me lose is easier than winning for them. That's what they do. So they don't select you because necessarily you appear weak. No, they select you because, they know they have, especially at work, they have the upper hand. Their university will not punish them for what they do unless they do something horribly wrong to you, in which you are physically, hammered, by what they've done. So unless they do something like this, they will not get punished by the university. I've seen a lot of process, some of which I was involved in too, some of which some of my friends were involved in, They are never been even warned about the bad things they did. The universities and sometimes even the companies they were working for have been always behind them. So this is a power structure that, you are the last piece of that structure, you're going to lose most of the time. So don't even dream unless you have something really tangible, like, physical harm they have done to you by their action, by their words, which is unconfutable. And you have, a considerable amount of money also to spend, in legal fees to barter these people. Remember that in some countries, they are defended by the system, actually. Not by the university itself, but the system defends them. Because the system defends the universities. The system, it's what the universities are based on the system. The system defends itself. So, it will not win easily. Okay? So, now we're going to discuss about, how to spot these people, what they actually do over time, and then later on I'm going to, suggest what you can do. Because in the hand, if you can't get out from outside, if you can't get out from the university, maybe it's down to you to understand what you can actually do, okay, to make sure these people don't harm you, your prospect, your mental well-being. And now in this part, I'm going to, rely on some of the things I have written down here to make sure, I go in a coherent, way through it. First of all, it's nearly impossible to spot at the beginning these bad people. I'm going to show you later on, what they're affected by, most likely, and of the kind of schemes they have put in place. And for you, it's, if you don't know a bit of psychology, it's nearly impossible to spot they are really bad people. But if you learn about some issue with personalities of these people, then and it's relatively easy to spot very early on. Now when I go around I meet people, I also have meet prospective employers, meet colleagues, meet friends, and even potential partners in my life. I after a couple of times I can definitely spot if they got some pretty nasty thing with them. But till 3 years ago I couldn't. Definitely couldn't. Because they have some schemes and they put on these schemes every time. And these schemes are always different depending on the circumstances. So don't beat yourself up. You can't spot these people easily unless you know some basic of personality issues that come with studying psychology. So after a few months though, even if you don't know psychology and how to spot these people, you will see that there are some pretty nasty thing happening, and you will start wondering, what is going on, and you may start talking to your colleagues, friends, and they have also something to mourn about these people. The thing is that it will remain always at this kind of level, moaning, complaining, but doing little or nothing at all, about to solve the situation. The situation may remain like that, may get a bit better, but many times it gets worse. You will be affected. So, you have to do something about it. Your private life will be affected. Your personal, professional relationship will be affected. So you need to understand what you can do to, solve the issue very early on in your PhD project. Now, what is wrong with these people? Well, I have seen that the number one problem they have is about dominance. They want to dominate you. They want to dominate the place where they are in. And this dominance is not only in their professional life, it's in their private life, it's in their family life as well. They are with their friends like this, they are with their spouse like this, they are at the workplace like this. It spans all the aspects of their life. Dominance is the number one problem they have. They are not used to this idea of, having someone else telling them to do something, Dominance for them is the number one thing they're after. They're like, animals. In fact, as I said before, we are all human beings, but a small percentage of us becomes humane. We will remain mostly animals throughout our life. And they are the number one animals. They are actually not human beings. They are animals. They have problems with impulse control, with aggressivity, with dominance, like animals. They are not human beings, in my opinion. They are animals. They behave exactly as animals. So dominance is the number one thing. Then control. They want to control you all the time, in most circumstances, because they cannot handle that. They cannot handle the fact that they have to allow somebody else to do something. They cannot handle it. That's why they're control freak. As soon as you see someone which is control freak, start wondering if they have got a personality disorder. Okay? Then, thing is that, they are overly stressed. Most of the time, overly stressed. Either you can see it or not see it, they are overly stressed. They can't handle it. They can't handle the stress. It's so much because they are overly present in most of the things they do. They can't handle all of that. They are overly stressed. But sometimes they becomes overly absent. Really overly absent. They are never there for you. They're always busy in other things, and they use that as a technique to control you somehow. Then, as I was saying before, they win not because they try to win. They win because they make you lose. So they will put a lot of emphasis on this, on making you lose. Right? And then, they lie a lot. People with personality disorders, they lie a lot. Some of them, lying has become compulsive. It's become so compulsive that they actually don't understand anymore what is a lie and what is, real. They live in a kind of different world, let's say. The word of lie, Lies have become pervasive in their life. In every aspect of their life. So why should they tell you what they think? Eh? No, they will tell you lie all the time. Yeah? So many that, because this is from the start, it's difficult for you to spot what is a lie that they have told you or what is a real thing. It was difficult for me too to spot it. No, now. And, another thing you can easily spot from people that are bad is the inability to wait. If you say yes all the time, they are fine. They will dump you all the things and, you will always do what they want. But the moment you start saying no, they will be on your neck all the time because they can't wait. So, someone that cannot wait has a very high chance of having a personality issue. Because if you tell me you need a few days to do something, I have no problem. I give you double. I give you 3 times. Sometimes, I have students, I give them as long as they want, Not them. These people cannot wait. They will be on your neck until they get what they want. Now, we will kind of move to what these people are affected by. I can be sometimes demanding. I see something not working properly, I say, hey guy, now we're going to fix it. I'll do my part. You do yours. Okay? and we get it fixed. And when I say this, from the very beginning, I know if that guy or that girl is not going to perform, I'll do it myself. So I can be very demanding, and this will put a lot of pressure on a person that has to perform. But yeah, I don't do this all the time, and especially I don't repeat this with the same person. If I see that the person is not able to perform, I will find some other thing for the person to do. What this other person is able to do, it wants to do. I leave the rest to what I can do. Okay? Someone with a personality disorder, it's not like this. Okay? And there is a special cluster, and this cluster is what I want to kind of concentrate on. It's called Cluster B personality disorder. Cluster B personality disorder are the worst people out there, or actually among the worst people out there, because there are also some bad people out there which are not affected by any personality issue. They do it as a job, Criminals are not necessarily people with personality disorder, but 95% of the people with personality disorder will commit criminal acts. Most of the time we don't report them. Or many times, like I did report some of them. Nothing happened. They were part of a university, part of the place where they were kind of protected by the system. Nothing actually happened to them. Nothing. I just lost a lot of time, effort, and some money too. So, since then, I don't report them anymore. I deal with these people in a different way. So, cluster B personality disorder are among the worst people out there. And they have two things that are extremely bad for others. And they are called entitlement and owning. Hey guys, entitlement is already bad. Owning is the worst thing a human being can think of regarding others. Owning pertained to slavery, guys. We want to remove, slavery, the slavery we have these days in the world. And we have nearly, 7-8%, probably 10% of the general population, which is part of cluster B. With 10% of the general population part of cluster B, you want to remove slavery? Slavery is ingrained into their body, into their mind. Cluster B based their being in this world on entitlement and slavery, man. Owning, it's what they're about. They own you, man. Honestly, owning pertain to slavery. We should fix these people somehow, or probably put them aside from society, somewhere in an island, they can do anything they like. We pay them, but we'll put them there. Don't have to deal with them, That's my own personal view, having dealt with a number of them. I worked in my private life. Who is entitled, who thinks that he or she owns thing? These are the worst people ever lived, which live still to these days. Yeah? And they're the ones that are going to do a lot of damage to you. Okay. Now that we have understood this, we have to understand also why they are at university. They are at university because university is a place where they are protected. They are protected by the system. If they were in a company, they were protected by the company, that's it, but not by the system. In a university, they have a much higher chance to keep going and doing what they always do, which is damaging people, sometimes forever, So when you hear sometimes, there is a old professor, out there at university, it depends on how old it is, or she is, Being old, it's fine, okay? Everyone has a personality. I have a personality too, quite, big. But having our own personality, which is distinct from other people's personality, is fine. But having a personality which is hard and abuses of others, it's not fine. It's absolutely not fine. Okay. Now, in the last part, we're going to see what we can do as, more humane people, dealing with these other people which are still human beings but not humane, to avoid a lot of pain, to us first and some to them too. Because when they dealt with me, some of them, when they dealt with me, they had some pain too. Okay? I'm not proud of it, but I didn't know what they had back then. Now I know. I avoid them all the time. Okay? I don't want to spend my time, my energy, and also my money to deal with people which are not humane. Okay, guys and girls, now we get to the point where we have to somehow give some possible solution to this issue of people with personality disorder we encounter in our life, and also you may encounter, I hope you will not, but you may encounter in your PhD. What do you do? Do you leave? Well, that's an option. You leave the place. Leaving the place, means leaving the battleground. You have a great chance to not only survive, to thrive, actually, away from it. But leaving without having understood what happened, maybe it's not an option. Why? Because these people are there everywhere. So the chance for you to get another person above you, which has a responsibility towards you, in maybe another PhD setting, or after the PhD in a company or in a university, as your boss, is very high. These people actually aim at becoming a sort of middle manager. Professor is a middle manager. That's what it is. In a university, professor is a middle manager. And these people with middle manager position are, those that can do a lot of damage. Why? Because they have a lot of people, like you, under them that they control somehow, they are responsible for, and they can do a lot of damage if they want. And if they had also protected, leaving the place without having understood what happened to you, I don't think it's an option. I think you should understand first what happens to make sure you don't get in another place, even after your PhD, finding similar people, okay? And not knowing how to deal with it. Because finding similar people, it's almost a certainty, but not knowing how to deal with them, it's much worse. Personality disorder from cluster B, are many. We have, narcissists. We have, borderline people. We have people with histrionic personality disorder. Then we have people with, much worse cases, of personality issues like, antisocial. Then within antisocial we have, sociopath, and then we have psychopath. These are among the worst people out there. and they are not small. Just psychopath, which are in percentage the smallest one of the lot. Yeah, it's estimated between to be 1 to 1.5%, and they are the less common. Okay? So this cluster B maybe accounts for between 7 up to 10% of general population. It's not something to not to consider. Then one option was living. I gave my kind of view. Living is fine if you are in danger. If you're not in danger, you understand that this is an issue, learn about it before you leave, because you have a person there which is there all the time. You can kind of test the thing you're learning and see if you can do something about it, right? And then with this kind of know-how, you get out in another place. Maybe you got the PhD meantime, and then you use this know-how to deal with other people you may encounter, which you will encounter. Okay, people like this. Then do you put up with it? That's the second option. You just put up with it. Yeah. In my life, I did put up with it once. Okay. Very bad. It was really long and really bad. Okay. Now I won't do it. No, I don't think I should put up with it. Okay. I have this motto: I shouldn't fix what other people are broken, man. What these people have to do with me, man? Honestly. Okay. First of all, I can't fix it, because these people with personality disorder, one of the things they have is that they seem not to listen. They do listen. They don't want to listen. They don't want to do things. And one of the major things they have is that they are accustomed to having this personality issue. And therefore, it's extremely difficult to convince them to get cured, to get fixed. You can even pay them to get fixed. They won't. They will take your money, and do something else with it. They will not seek help. The percentage of people that seek help with personality issues, especially with cluster B personality issue, is extremely slim. Who does get help and seeks help? If the people they have tried to damage or they have damaged. Cluster B damaged a lot of people. It's estimated that psychopaths, if they don't kill you, not all psychopaths are killers, but psychopaths will damage between 7 and 8 people, but really damage, in their life. 7 or 8 people damaged by one fucker. Honestly, there is something really wrong out there, man. Honestly, because these people create havoc around them. The financial damage, the personal damage they do, to themselves, to others, it's unimaginable. Unimaginable. To society, the damage they do to society overall, it's unimaginable. Put up with it. I won't repeat that mistake. I did it once in my life. Never put up with these guys and girls. Sorry. I shouldn't fix what other people have broken. Good. Now, third option is seek help. Yeah, great. You should seek help. And, I suggest you try to understand what they're doing. Google it. Say, they're doing this compulsive lying. And then, controlling. And then, owning. If you put this in Google, poof, Google tells you the person you have in front. Yeah, they will tell you. That's actually how I find out the first psychopath I dealt with. I Googled it. But at the very beginning, I didn't understand, that this person had this problem, because he looked like this person had another less problematic issue. But Google told me this less problematic issue I spotted, And then as I start learning about it, by watching, expert on YouTube and learning a lot, buying books and things, then, I unraveled the real problem behind this person, which was psychopathy. And this person had some other things, which was, some sort of form of passive narcissism with malignant trait. So I got, one of the worst person ever in my life, Yeah, I dealt with it. Somehow. Till I was satisfied. And now I'm here to make sure they don't do anything else to me, and to tell the world also what I have learned and what I've done without being a psychologist, okay, that knows this. So, living, putting up with it, seeking help. Seeking help where? No, these are the three things. Living, putting up with it, and seeking help. If you seek help, you need to be prepared, because sometimes this can be quite long. Okay? Where do you seek help? When do you seek help? And how do you seek help? Make sure you have done some groundwork before you actually seek help. Because if you go to a place where you seek help, you tell what happened, not all the time. The person listening to you is aware of personality disorder issues. Even doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, depending on the country you go to, many of them are not able to spot issues with this because, nowadays, many, especially psychiatrists, they give medication out, something a psychologist cannot do. So they give medication out, but personality disorder cannot be cured by medication. Yeah, that's a problem. If you got a personality issue, you cannot get a pill to cure it. It's the way you think, the way you behave, and the way you act. Okay, that's what is wrong. Yeah, there are connections which are wrong in the brain of these people. These people, prefrontal cortex doesn't connect very well with this part of the brain down here, which is our primordial part of the brain. There are connections missing. This connection cannot be cured by a pill. So, be aware of this because many doctors out there cannot understand this unless they're willing to, really help you and get you into what you're going through. But otherwise, they will not be able to help you properly. So be prepared to go to a special doctor that is aware of these issues. Good. So whatever way you decide to take, I'm going to give you now a little bad news, which is you will definitely be affected. Okay? And they affect you as a function of how strong their action being, which means how closely to you they are. Okay? How often do you see them? And then, also how long the problem they caused lasts with you. It's like being next to a massive, cable of, which is, 300,000 volts, transferring power, this high voltage power line. If I pass through that, under it with my car, nothing happens, man, because, it's very high voltage, but I pass through it for a few seconds, nothing will happen. But if I live close to it, the proximity of these power lines, over time will create issue in my health. So it's how bad these people are, how often do you see them, and how long it lasts, the problem they cause to them. And I can tell you, even now, when I had a number of them clustering, and affecting my private and personal relationship, it was so bad, that still now sometimes I have a sort of anger. I really, wanted to do something. I did something, okay, to put them off. But it wasn't strong enough. This is called kind of flashback. Yeah? So I experienced a flashback. Okay, now not very often, but few times per year I still have this feeling that I should have done more, and I can see these people have done some bad things to me. So you will be affected. The longer you stay with them, you will be affected. The more present they are in your life, you will be affected. And the more an action they do or a word they say creates lasting effect in you, you will be affected. So trying to understand how to deal with it. And now some facts to show you how this is not uncommon. Between 1/4 and 1/3 of the general population has problem with personality issues. When I say problem with personality issue, means that their condition is from very important to severe to pathological. When I said before, there was 1 to 1.5% of psychopaths in our general population. It means those people which have psychopathic personality disorder. So they are clinically sick with this condition. There are many other people which are below the clinical level, and they can still be damaged, but depending on how far from the threshold of having the condition, the clinical condition. So, I say that between 1/4 and 1/3 of the general population have AIDS because there are two other clusters. There is cluster A, and cluster A are the people that are paranoid, schizoid, and so on. Then cluster B, which is the one we discussed, which is the aggressive cluster, and then cluster C. Cluster C are those that one example, it's the obsessive compulsive personality disorder. It's someone that is unable to delegate. They want to control all the time. Control freaks. Control freaks have a very high percentage of being in this cluster, cluster C. So among them, there are 15, 16 different personality disorders among cluster A, B, and C. And they count, from my estimates, about between a fourth and a third of the general population. So somehow we need to learn how to deal with these people. And be aware also that 80 to 85% of all people at some time in their life experience mental health issues. I had problem with anxiety too, in my life, and I had some short-lived experience of what seemed to be sporadic depression episodes, but it then turned out that these were caused by some of these people I had encountered. So mental health, it's about states of minds, different kind of states of minds, and we can switch from one state to the other, and back, and it's a bit difficult because if you have 85% of people which at any one time are affected by this, this is something quite spread out. And in many cases, the problem that people with mental health disorder have do spill in other people's life, at work, at home, friendships. Yeah. Now, what to take away from this lesson before we kind of close off? Well, what to take away is that I resisted for a number of years to learn about these people I was encountering every few years. Every few years I encountered one. At one point, I encountered a number of together, and then at that point I decided to dive in and learn as much as I could. The thing is not to dream that you will be able to shine away from these people, but I think is to learn what to do with them. Each one of them is slightly different, despite they have underlying same issues. And the key is how to learn and what to do about them when you encounter them. And that responsibility, that action remains with you, not with them, not with society. You have to decide what to do with them when you encounter them. Okay? Thank you.